The war on cash is accelerating fast, and it's happening faster than most have ever imagined or expected. And new information that's coming out shows us what their reasons are, and they're much scarier than we had even previously imagined. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down recent developments in this war on cash that you need to know now. I'm going to give you my medium-term and even longer-term outlook, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing to protect myself and my family. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss. Now, everyone knows that there's something wrong, but most people, they don't really have any idea what it is. They don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know how to fix it. All right, now I believe that it all comes down to the money, which is why I focus on these topics, so we can all navigate this correctly, because money gives us the options that we need. Now, if you like these topics and you want to help me get more people to learn and wake up to this, then please click that subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you're notified every time I put a new video out. Now, just real fast, sorry, I just want to give you some housekeeping. I love to hear your comments. I try to respond to as many of the comments as I can, but I just want to tell you, beware. Just watch out, because as my comments are getting completely filled up with spam, they're scammers and they're trying to trick people into sending money. Now, some of them even use my name. Some of them even use my profile picture. So just be very, very careful about that. And don't ever send anyone money that you don't know, okay? So anyway, back to this. So the war on cash continues, right? Like I said, it's accelerating really, really fast. Now, with a mix of geopolitical disorder that's happening across the world, obviously we have devastating blows to the global economies, GDPs. We have rapid advancements in technology. We have runaway debts, deficits, things like that. And it's all converging. It's all coming together to change the world that we live in. And it's happening in an instant. Now, it's kind of perfectly summed up in this quote by, not my favorite guy, but it's a good quote by Vladimir Lenin. And he said, quote, "There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen." And so I love that quote. It kind of sums us up. And that's because for decades, we've been working, or I should say they have been working, to get rid of cash. Now, research reports show that they've been working on getting rid of cash for a long time. As a matter of fact, we can see that the concept of getting rid of cash has been researched all the way back since as early as the 50s. We can see that variants of the words like cashless or checkless society appear all throughout the developed world during the second half of the 20th century, which is like from 1950 forward. Now, one of the best examples of this that I can give you is what happened in India back in 2016. And basically, the country of India banned 1,500 rupee notes, and that represented about 86% of all the currency in circulation. Now, just for reference, I know 1,000 rupee note sounds like a lot, but it's not. 1,000 rupee is only about $14 US. And so this was a really big deal to get rid of those notes, especially because India was a cash economy with 90% of all transactions done in cash. And so I get pushback on this a lot of times. People tell me no way that countries will ever ban cash, especially in these third world countries where they depend on cash, where they use cash. And I say, okay, but again, this is a perfect example. 86%, or I should say 90% of all their transactions were done in cash, and they did it just like that overnight. 86% of the cash in India couldn't be used. Now, Indians were only given about 1 month to deposit their cash into the banks before it became worthless forever. Now, there was no limit to the amount that you could deposit, so you could take all your cash and deposit it, but you were forced to prove that you had paid the tax. Now, if you couldn't prove that you paid the tax, you were charged the full amount of tax on it, plus you were fined an additional 200% of the amount of tax that owed. So for many people, that was pretty much the full value of the cash they had. It pretty much wiped them out. So you say it can't happen, but it does. It happens all the time. Now, these types of moves, getting rid of cash, doing something like that, it's always about control. Everything boils down to control. In India, it was mainly driven to control taxes and prevent tax evasion because it was such a cash society. So they wanted to get those taxes, control those taxes, prevent tax evasion. But today, we're seeing the war on cash escalate for reasons that are much deeper, and they're scarier than just taxes. Now, from a previous video I did titled The War on Cash, it's had over 700,000 views. I'm gonna link to it right up here. I explained that governments are all moving to ban cash and move to digital currencies. But like I said, things are changing and they're moving really, really fast, and it's grown way past what I reported in the previous video. On top of that, the virus that we've been dealing with, the pandemic, has been like an accelerant, right? And everything is moving much faster than it was ever before. Now, a perfect way that we can see this is with what the World Economic Forum is doing, and their founder, their evil villain founder, Klaus Schwab. And on the website, they have a website that's up there, and I would encourage everyone to go read this so you don't think it's a conspiracy theory, but go read the World Economic Forum website, read the Great Reset website, read the articles they put out. Even Klaus Schwab recently just published a book as well. And so, of course, you can read that. But in a piece titled, quote, "Now is the time for a great reset," Schwab begins, and I'm going to quote him here, "COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. There's a good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 1930s. But while this outcome is likely, it's not unavoidable." So the first thing he does is he kind of sets the stage, right? He sets the stage and starts instilling fear. Everything's intensifying. There's lots of reasons to be worried. The economy's going to crash, but it's unavoidable. If only, right? So let's go on. Schwab proceeds to explain, again, quoting him, "To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly." There we go. "To revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country, from the United States to China, must participate, and every industry, from oil and gas to tech, must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism." End quote. So that's quoting him. That's straight from the mouth. He said, must act jointly and swiftly. Jointly and swiftly. Every industry must be transformed, and we need a great reset of capitalism. So capitalism is an economic system. So we need to change the entire economic system of the world. Now, wait a second. Is he saying that because of the virus pandemic, it's necessary that we change the global economic and social transformation of the world? In order to fight the virus pandemic, we have to change all of this, and the entire world, the size and scope of the world. How would transforming every industry from oil and gas to tech help combat the virus? Well, if you're guessing, the answer is it wouldn't, right? But never mind that. Again, per their words, it gives us the perfect opportunity to change the whole system, including the entire economic system, banking, and yes, of course, cash, which is what we're talking about today. Well, we're going to talk about banking and cash. Now, I'm going to break this down into 3 reasons, all right, why they want to ban cash now and why they're trying to do it faster than ever before. Now, the first part of this, the first reason why they're doing this is they're trying to move to this CBDC, that's a central bank digital currency. And we have, China, the Central Bank of China already rolled theirs out October 12th. We know the U.S. Federal Reserve is working on putting one out. We know lots of other countries are working on putting out central bank digital currencies. Now, there's a million reasons as to why. I've talked about them in several other videos, but the main reason why they want to go to a central bank digital currency, and the main reason why we should be worried and scared, is because it's programmable money. And let me explain what this is. All right, it's programmable money, and it's behavioral modification. So let me explain that. So the money can be programmed. So for example, in the United States, the government sent out stimulus, up to $1,200 stimulus, and they were hoping that people would spend the money to stimulate the economy, but they didn't. They saved the money instead. So it didn't really help as intended. So with programmable money, they could say, hey, we're going to give you $1,200 stimulus, but if you don't spend it in 7 days, it comes back to us. They could say that. They could say you're only allowed to spend it here, here, and here at Amazon, Target, and Walmart, but you're not allowed to spend it at any of these specialty retailers, right? They can do that. Okay, that's programmable, but it gets even scarier. And this is where we start getting into behavioral finance. So they're trying to constantly adjust policies and push their policies, I should say. So for example, they could say, hey, you're not saving enough money, and we think you should save more money, and so we're going to pay you 5% interest if you save money. And over here, Mark, you've saved too much money. We need you to go spend more, so we're going to charge you 5% interest. See how they can instantly do that? Or they could say, hey, this ethnic group, this minority, this sexual preference, whatever, they're going to get extra money for these things, to go to school, for example. Now, in a whole world that's supposedly pushing for equality, that doesn't really seem equal, does it? If everybody gets treated differently, but that's what they want. They want to control the system through the money by what you can spend, what you can't spend, how much you have, how much you don't have, things like that. They control how much you have in your bank account, and that's what they're doing. Now, it gets deeper than that, but I'm not going to keep going anymore. If you want me to dig in more to that, leave me a comment, and I can do another video just on that. But the second piece, the reason why they're trying to get rid of the cash, obviously it starts with the CBDC, but then it moves into their new plan. Now, again, as I said, new information came out. And so as of a few weeks ago, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they are basically the central bank of the central banks. They were created in Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944. So we have the Federal Reserve. Each country has their central bank, and the IMF sits above them. All right. Now, they recently came out about a month ago and called for a Bretton Woods II moment. Now, what does that mean? What's a Bretton Woods II moment? Well, in order to understand that, you have to understand what Bretton Woods I was. So Bretton Woods I, again, 1944, basically the countries of the world came together and agreed to use a one world currency. And that was going to be that the dollar was going to be backed by gold, and that the dollar would be the reserve currency of the world, so all the other currencies would peg to the dollar. So thereby, everyone's on the same system, gold, dollar, and then all the other currencies pegged to that. And the whole world agreed to use this system. 1971, President Nixon severed those ties, and now every currency is just on their own, and they're all fighting against each other. So now that you understand what a Bretton Woods I is, now you understand what a Bretton Woods II is. They're basically calling for all the countries to come back together again and agree back on a one world money system. But what is the structure of this money system? And that brings us into point number 3 that I want to talk about. Now, I talked about this specific reason I talked about it in depth in another video titled "The Real Reason They Want to Ban Cash." I'll link to it right up here if you want to go dig into that whole video. But basically, from a high level, we have to understand how money is created and what this system is that they want to change. So at a high level, we're in a debt-based system. So money or currency, it's created through debt. So basically, like I said, each country's kind of managing their own currency. Not all of them, but most countries are managing their own currencies. And they have a central bank that creates reserves that go to commercial banks, local banks, things like that. And then those local banks now can create currency, can create money by extending credit out to you. So this is somewhat of like a local and decentralized process. If I want to start an avocado stand here, I can go to my local banker and he says, "Hey, Mark, I don't think an avocado stand would do good there. I don't want to loan you money." Or, "I think it would do great. I do want to loan you money." So it's a little bit of a local, decentralized level. Then we have bigger banks, nationwide banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America's. We have the commercial banks, etc. But it's kind of decentralized. You have all these banks making their own decisions, basing their own risk tolerances if they want to create that money. All right, that's how it works now. But per what the IMF is trying to do is they want to create their own central bank digital currency, and they want to compress the stack. So currently we have the IMF, we have the Federal Reserve Central Bank, we have the government, of course, we have all the different banks, commercial banks, local banks, etc., and then we have us receiving the money. They want to compress that stack and get rid of everybody, bypass everybody, and basically the IMF would have their own central bank digital currency that they can just send directly to you and I. The bankers taking over the world, bypassing the central banks, the governments, and all the local banks, etc. This is the third reason why they are trying to get rid of cash and usher in the central bank digital currency. All right, like I said, it's a little bit bigger and a little bit scarier than we had seen. And of course, this is based off of new information that they're coming out and telling us. I haven't linked to it, but if you want to, go to the IMF's website and look at what they're calling the Bretton Woods II, and then look into that. You can figure that out. I've talked about it in another video. I'll link to it right here. The Deep Secret, I think it's called. Now, what are we going to expect from this? All right, now that you know why they're pushing this, here's what I'm seeing. Now, here's what I'm seeing in the medium and maybe to a longer term outlook. Of course, information is changing, just like information changed a month ago and I had to make a new video. This doesn't happen overnight, but the way things work is they seem gradual at first, and they're moving faster, and then all of a sudden they're sudden. So my best case going forward is this is probably going to really start to pick up steam over the next couple of years. We can already tell that trust in the dollar and the US dollar, trust in other currencies, it's falling. It's falling really fast. We can see that the dollar's dominance from 1971 all the way till now has been falling. It's been falling fast. As a matter of fact, the US dollar is only used in about 50 to 60% of transactions globally anymore. We see currencies crashing all around us. Fiat currencies are crashing all the time, seeing hyperinflation inflation. Venezuela, Argentina, Lebanon, they're all great recent examples. And we can even see signs of this going back just to 2019 when Mark Carney, who was the former governor of the Bank of England, the BOE, and he was in Wyoming speaking to all the central bankers back in 2019, and he called for an end of the U.S. dollar's dominance. I'm going to quote him here. He said, quote, "The dollar's influence on global financial conditions could similarly decline if a financial architecture developed around the new digital currency and it displaced the dollar's dominance in credit markets." All right, so there was Mark Carney in 2019 saying exactly what I'm saying now. We could get rid of the dollar and we could displace it with a new digital currency and get rid of the dollar's dominance. So this is coming along gradually, and it's picking up steam. And for those that are not paying attention, all of a sudden it happens. All right. So how are we going to protect ourselves? How are we going to protect ourselves from this shift and the wealth transfer that it's going to create? You don't want to end up like people in India where you just lost all your wealth overnight. We need to be prepared in advance. Now, the big answer to the big question is we want to opt out of the financial system. But what does that mean exactly? So opting out of the financial system, to me, we want to get our money into assets that are outside of the financial system or can at least be somewhat protected. So Bitcoin and gold are the obvious ones. I can own my own Bitcoin. I can control it. Same with gold. I can keep it in my safe. I can control it. Those are assets that cannot be manipulated through the financial system. We also have other types of assets, maybe more global equities. Might be a good place to do that. Really good quality residential real estate. Now, I think I've made 5 or 6 videos on real estate since the pandemic broke out. Go back to the videos. Go watch the last one I did on real estate if you want to know more what quality residential real estate is and where you should be looking and where you should be looking out for. Other precious metals, obviously platinum has been doing really, really good. We have silver, obviously is doing really good. There's other ones as well, rhodium, etc. And then industrial commodities. Now, the commodities basket is at the lowest prices it's like ever been in history. I like to buy things when they're cheap. And so industrial commodities, I think, will continue to do good as they print all this fake money. They start trying to steal money, transition it. We want to own real assets. That's what commodities are. So those are the places that I would go to protect myself. Now, what do I expect for 2021? What's the outlook? And of course, I say it all the time, I don't have a crystal ball. I sure wish I did. It would sure make this much easier. But there is one thing that I do know. And I know that there is change coming for sure, right? We know that. The writing is on the wall. We're seeing it. So I can guarantee there's change coming. I can also pretty much say with 100% certainty that massive amounts of debt are going to be created. Massive amounts of money, currency are going to be created. Massive amounts of debt are going to be created. We can also pretty much guarantee that disorder will continue. We can already start to see this happening, and I would imagine that's going to continue for 21. And so in order for us to prepare ourselves to protect ourselves and our family, we have to be paying attention. Now, this is new information that just came out, and it's changing the way things are done. So we have to be paying attention. We have to be ready to pivot at any given time. And again, you want to start taking these actions before it's too late. Once it happens, it's too late. So start taking action today. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. Are you going to be taking actions? Do you see the outlook like I do? Change is coming, debt is coming, disorder is coming. And if so, what are you doing to protect yourself? Leave me a comment and let me know. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you like it. If you don't like the video, it's too scary, whatever, give me a thumbs down. That's okay. But at least tell me why. Leave me a comment and tell me why you're giving it thumbs down because I want to know. And that's what I got for you today. All right, to your success. I'm out.